Good morning and welcome to Vivid. Today's presentation is Get Self-Service of Passwords with HPE Service Anywhere, the free version. And our speaker today is Finn Jensen. He is the CEO for fastpass Corp, founder, IT Management and Leadership Forum, active participant within the Vivid community, and we're going to talk about his technology today. So the webinar today is sponsored by fastpass Corp. And if you're on this call, you're part of the HPE Service Management SIG. Here's the leaders of our group: Robbie Clay Edmond, or Walker, and Sierra Dick Shiloli. These folks run the special interest group in service management, coordinate virtual events for you to learn and get updates on what's happening with HP products. And so feel free to reach out to them on the Vivid website to suggest future topics that might be of interest for you. And so we kind of keep the SIG going and active. There's a lot of changes within HP. It's a good time to be engaged. My name is Rocky Pisto. I'm hosting the event for you today. I'm a chapter leader. I'm an HP partner, and been involved with Vivid for a long time, and look forward to working with Finn on this presentation today. And again, today's speaker is Finn Jensen. And a few housekeeping items. This is a live session that's being recorded. If the screen looks a little different for you, we're on a new platform that's giving us more capabilities for live action video, just a lot of new technologies that you'll be seeing in the Vivid web portal or web system going forward for 2017. So pretty excited about that. So the recording is going to be made available to our members. And if you're attending this session or opted in to hear this session, you'll be getting a notice from us after the session is concluded with a recording of this event, along with any questions and answers that were part of the presentation. And so that way you don't miss anything. Looks like some things here. To enlarge the presentation screen, click on the rectangle in the upper right-hand corner of the presentation panel. That way you can get more of a full screen perspective versus the other panels that have questions and chat and those kind of things. So here are the webinar control panel. And as you can see in the first tab, there's a question and answer panel, number one. So believe me, the more questions we have, the more entertaining this becomes. So feel free to ask questions. You can choose the language that you'd like to see the answers in. So if you're French or German or Russian, you can kind of click on the panel that currently shows the American flag and select the language you'd like to see the answers in. So another new feature for this webinar platform. And I think, Finn, with that, I'm going to send it to you.
Thank you very much, Rocky. And hi, everybody. Nice to meet you here at Vivid. It's the second time we do this presentation. I think last time very good, many good questions came up. So I hope this fits into your area of interest for the service desks. I look forward to present this solution, which has been our solution, which has been architected now together with HP and us. And at the first time, we presented it at Discover in Las Vegas in June. So I know that being in this SIG group, you all have a deep interest in service management. To improve, you bring in tools and processes, and what I'll do is to take a look at an important part of your workload, or anybody's workload in service desks. We have just recently, together with Service Desk Institute, a member organization for service desk management, had a market survey. And we asked how large a portion of your workload is made by password issues. And we can see, although there's some distribution in here, in the majority organization, it's 10 to 20% of all calls that are password related, but on average, it's actually as much as 24%. So 24% is quite a lot and worth looking at. And it means definitely for practically all organizations I have met that password issues are the single most frequent call type to service desks. But what's all about then? When we talk about moving this to self-service, what is the risk, cost, and risks associated with password processes? We see three groups of consequences. One is that if we have a manual process, when we have a manual process, which we all have, even when we have self-service, there are risks for misuse of passwords. There are risks that users can call the service desk and claim to be someone else, and in this way get a password to another person's user ID. And this is the source of fraud, disclosure of private information, and in general mistrust of IT. Actually, the European Union has made a new legislation being completely active from May 2018, which demands from all European organizations that they get in full control of all data related to persons and make sure that it is well protected and will not be disclosed to other or wrong parties. This is a very, very heavy legislation coming in, and with strong consequences or big consequences for anyone not ready to do that. So consequences of not being in control of the manual password process will be very severe in the future. Secondly, if users are in a position where they are stopped because their password is locked or because they've forgotten their password, they of course lose their productivity. And this is particularly important if they are outside your normal business hours. We have seen results from some of our customers where nearly it showed that when a self-service solution was established, that nearly 50% of all password resets were done outside the openings hour of the IT department. This was not expected because no one told the IT department that this was a need, but the results were very, very clear. And of course, looking into your own environment, if 24% of all calls are password related, well, if users could handle them themselves, you could cut that workload and use your time for something better. Actually, we've even heard from some managers and service desks that this actually teaches work could be the cause for some employee turnaround. So password processes not handled correctly actually carry some pretty important consequences where a good and strong password self-service solution could be the source of solution. This has been realized by many companies, and in the same survey as I talked about before, Service Desk Institute found that about 60% of their members already had a password self-service solution. So that should be fine and good. However, when they were asked, what are your satisfaction with this? What is your return on investment in your self-service solution? This is the results is shown in this little graph here, and it says that only 8% achieved their business case. And in the bottom, we can see that 56% reach less than 50% of their business case, which is a failure. So seeing a vision of self-service and then thinking, okay, we take in and bring in a self-service solution, then everything is fine. Here, it shows that in reality, it's much more difficult than that. We then asked, or SDI asked these companies, what is the problem? And it said that the circle shows that 86%, the orange, the orange here and the blue here, they together combined to 86%. They managed to convert less than 40% of password calls to self-service. The remaining 60 to 100% still called the service desk. And of course, in that case, companies shouldn't have implemented a self-service solution. So what this shows is that self-service doesn't come in and work just by itself. When we went deeper into details, the answers showed why not, and it's because there are problems with the enrollment process, there's problem with users doing the authentication process. It seems some users actually prefer to talk to someone, and there's some other reasons. But 82% of the problems were related to enrollment, authentication, and service desk, that users wanted to come to the service desk. So the conclusion might be, don't do self-service, but that would be a wrong conclusion. That would be a wrong conclusion. The result we see with our customers following our best practices is, as you can see here, that it is actually possible to achieve 70 to 90% self-service success. In that case, it gives a lot of meaning bringing in password self-service. Now, the most important parameter in having a successful self-service is, of course, users use it. But another part of the business case is clearly what is the cost that we have to carry for our solution. And what is probably pretty unique here is that we, together with HP, decided that for HPE Service Anywhere customers, we will offer a free version of fastpass Cloud to these customers. What does free mean? It means that for companies of the size of 2,000 to 30,000 users, you can have the free access to fastpass Cloud paying $0 annually. That means that is really free, even no internal infrastructure costs is involved. And we are actually extending this offer to the Vivid community. So you would be able to get a solution starting up in self-service and being able to get a solution combined with your service desk solution. What does it consist of? Here, if you have an HPE Service Anywhere, this is the HPE Service Anywhere portal, where you have the different functions available. And when you have fastpass, you will have an extra icon pointing the users to password self-service. Or you might search for a solution in the article database, and you'll be pointed to the same place. So if you as a user have problems with your password, come to the HP portal, then you will be directed to the fastpass solution looking exactly as Service Anywhere. And let me just fast go through what is the user process. The user will identify herself. She will then be asked to authenticate. Authenticate, as we have no password, we need to authenticate in another way, and this is here being done with questions and answers. And there will be a couple of questions that the user has to answer correctly. With the authentication of standard question, and here also an example of questions the user have made herself. When that's in place, the user can enter a new password, which will be written to Active Directory to her Windows login and use the new password. This will take around a minute or so and involve nobody else than the user, which actually also have a clear consequence in security. There's only one person involved. The same process is also available from a smartphone if the user has an experience that self-service is something I do from my smartphone. So that is available too. So a pretty complete solution, being equivalent to how password self-service solution, I would say in good standard, was 5 years ago, and probably pretty close to where FastPass was 5 years ago. Now, when you use a cloud solution, you will have some demands on security, of course, and to satisfy those, FastPass is regularly tested externally for web application security certification and living up to the main standards of this. But this is a base solution for free. I would expect in a good implementation that you would reach somewhere from 40 to 60% success rate of conversion with this solution. If you want to get to the 70-90%, you would need some more advanced features that can be added to the free solution. If you do that, then you have to pay a little charge per user per year. A small fee, annual fee, will be needed to pay. Now, what is it you can get extra? If you remember, I said authentication had to be done by users answering questions. To do that, of course, you have to enroll, select questions, and give answers so that FastPass can confirm that these are right. In the free version, the IT department would send out mails and make sure users enroll. To avoid this process, which might take some time in reality, FastPass has a number of different options which can help you bring in, force users in or invite them in to get all users enrolled in FastPass and thereby being able to live up. If you remember, 22% of missed solutions were due to enrollment issues. In the free version, users can authenticate with questions and answers. We know that some users forget the answers and therefore have to call the service desk. So it's a big plus to have more options than just this one. So in the more advanced FastPass version, you can let users authenticate with the use of their mobile phones as a token or even their private emails as a function. And we have some other authentication methods that you can bring in. Adding these will increase the authentication success to close to 100%. Additionally, we see many customers using FastPass from external network. If you do that, then you, from a security point of view, need to do two-factor authentication. And here, FastPass can automatically see that and then ask users to authenticate with questions, which is something I know, plus SMS with a mobile phone, something I have. So you can get as well one-factor as two-factor authentication as part of the full solution. A very special thing with password problems is that you probably have a locked PC. If you have a locked PC, it's difficult to do self-service. Then you have to go to the mobile, to your smartphone, or go to a colleague's workstation. To avoid this, and to help the user remember that there is a self-service available, the advanced solution gives the option for you to bring in an icon on the user's Windows login screen so that a user can activate and use his PC even when the user has forgotten the password and the PC is locked. FastPass can actually activate the workstation, and the user can then do the process in an otherwise locked PC. And that's easily, and this can be for domain users, and it can actually even be for remote users where they can use their smartphone as the internet connection, and FastPass will actually even be able to reset the password out at the mobile PC. For some a number of large organizations have other passwords than Windows. It might be SAP, it might be Oracle, it might be IBM, SQL. There might be many different passwords in large organizations. FastPass, the big FastPass solution, can offer synchronization as well as a direct password reset for all other corporate passwords than Windows, and hereby helping to get close to the 100% self-service. Now, however, no matter what we do, there will always be some users who can't do self-service for a number of reasons. They have to call you in the service desk. And here FastPass is probably the only vendor who offers a tool for the service desk to make sure that even the manual process lives up to your compliance requirements and help the user get through this in a compliant way and actually let the user do self-service himself by making it possible for a user to enroll even when he doesn't have a Windows password. So that's a part of the process that ties together to FastPass and actually means that the service desk is an integrated part of the solution, of the self-service solution, which we consider to be a very big plus and very important to understand that even though it's self-service, the service desk is integrated into the success of the solution. So, what is my suggestion now? If you, based on this presentation, say, well, this sounds interesting. If we can get away with 80% of our password calls or 90% of our password calls and help us get a compliant process, compliant for self-service, but even compliant for the remaining manual password resets, what should we do then? Please call us. Please get in contact with us. You can get in contact with us from our website, or you can contact me directly. And as I say, you can get started with 10,000, 20,000 users with a cost of $0 annually, only with a small one-time charge for setting up the connection to our cloud. Now, if you have an interest to get some more information before you contact us, we have a couple of downloadable files you can take, one describing directly how the solution works with HPE Service Anywhere, and a guide to a successful password self-service project and process. They will be available in your left down corner. So much for me. Rocky, will you take the chair here?
I will. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for the update on your solution. We have a number of questions from the audience, and I want to see if we've got time to go through these right now. So I want to see if we can get answers to them, and that way it's part of this recording for the folks that couldn't make the call. It'll be in their, it'll be emailed to them at that point. So question number one, a free solution sounds good, but how do you make money with it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good question. The answer is we don't. But where we do make money, and where we can see that we do make money, because we actually do have a number of examples already from HPE Service Anywhere customers having this interest. But when they start looking into it and say, okay, we want to tackle this 20-30% of our call issue, then very soon there's a priority to be successful on the user side more than keeping costs down. And then when customers start buying the optional features, that covers our cost. So for us, it's a way to get in contact with customers, and then we believe that the majority will take some of the optional features. But anyone is welcome to start and see how far they can get with a free solution. But the fact is that costs us money. But we believe that on average over time that we'll make money on it.
Well, it's a great way to get customers comfortable with the way the product works. And as you said, there's additional functionality that they can pay for as more of a premium if they choose to go down that route. But at least they can kick the tires, get comfortable with the product, and help solve some real problems. So that's great. Finn, what is the standard implementation time for this solution?
Yeah, I think the best way to understand it is to see implementation in two dimensions. One is the technical one. The technical implementation means for a customer that there must be a fastpass agent on the domain which talks to the fastpass cloud over a secure network, over secure lines. The implementation of this will, as it is written here, cost $500 in a fixed fee. And then on the customer side, there will of course be some testing, making sure that everything is fine and all right, but very, very limited implementation. Then there is the organizational one, thinking about what kind of questions do we want, what user groups do we want to cover with this, how do we want to invite users, how do we want to motivate users. Those steps is very difficult for us to say how much time will they take. It's so depending on each organization. But from a technical point of view, this can be, kind of less than a week, even including the normal good testing and documentation and what have you in an IT infrastructure team. If you want to go beyond that and having the PC client wanting to do something on the remote side, etc., then there are more steps also for the technical infrastructure team. But it remains a relatively short time project to get up and running.
Okay, no, that's great. And I know with every environment, it's unique, and there is customization to be tailored for that individual company and the way they do business or the way they handle their processes, so that it's always hit and miss. But at least if the core implementation, like you said, is a week or so, that's pretty effective and provide the results that the product provides. So, no, that's great. I've got a question here from, there might be some people that aren't on Service Anywhere. So what is the integration required for other ITSM solutions?
Then it's not much. But what you saw in the presentation from HPE Service Anywhere, we have made connection icons from HPE Service Anywhere user self-service portal. And I would suggest that the same can be done. I know that can be done from practically all modern service management systems. So making an icon with a URL to the fastpass cloud, it takes a bit more, and then that's in place. Then you probably also want to do what we have done with Service Anywhere, which is that every time fastpass has completed a password transaction, we send a ticket back to Service Anywhere so that all transactions are in the database for management statistics, etc. So there is connections both ways, but those are basically standard in fastpass to establish. It takes a little bit more, but it's very convenient to make this connection. And of course, fastpass being with, I think we have customers with more than 20 different service management tools. So of course, this is available and possible. But I think it is being pre-cooked and made ready for Service Anywhere.
Great, great. I've got a few more questions, but I just want to remind everyone that at the end of this presentation, or close to the end, we'll be showing you the downloaded files for this presentation and other information regarding fastpass. So make sure you take a look at that as soon as it becomes available here shortly. Okay, you know, Finn, I know it's hard to believe, but there are some customers that aren't using cloud solutions yet. What can we do for them?
Sure. Actually, we have in Europe a case with a Service Anywhere customer, actually, and Service Anywhere being a cloud customer, but they wanted some special things in their the infrastructure, which has resulted in them installing fastpass on-premise. So fastpass is originally developed on-premise, but has evolved to be a cloud product as well. So if you want to use fastpass on-premise, that is definitely available, and I have to admit the majority of our customers use fastpass on-premise. This, of course, requires a bit more on the technical implementation side, because here now you need to have an application running in your environment. Fastpass is written .NET according to Microsoft recommendations, needs a virtual server. That's I think is what I need to tell about that.
Great. And just to let everyone know that the presentation and some of the other documentation are available in that download file area on the bottom left-hand corner. And I think you just click on the little icon and you should be able to download those presentations. Let's see. Next question. How does fastpass Cloud integrate to our internal Active Directory?
You will install a fastpass agent. This is a piece of fastpass software. This software needs to have privilege rights to write passwords to your Active Directory. Nothing more. But we need these privilege rights. And this agent will then communicate over secure lines. So this means we need a security certificate with the fastpass cloud. So the connection is the fastpass agent to be installed on customer domain. And that is where the $500 written here comes in. There's some consulting from our part to make sure that we give a handshake in the dial-up, what ports, etc. How is this done technically?
Great.
So it's a cooperation between our support team and the customer infrastructure team.
Yeah, and that takes a little handshake activity to tie those together. So yeah, makes sense. So what role does the service desk have when self-service of passwords is introduced?
The role of the service desk continues to have the role that when users, and even in a successful fastpass implementation, 10 to 20% of password calls will end up at the service desk because users have forgotten answers to the questions, have forgotten their cell phone or whatever. They have a problem. Then they call the service desk. Now, the user will ask for a Windows password, and if the service desk gives that to the user, there's one thing I can guarantee, and that is next time the user will call again. So what is important here, and that's part of the fastpass help desk client, is that the service desk, after authenticating the user, brings him back into fastpass. And this is done through a re-enrollment key, as we call it, which makes it possible for the user to re-enroll in fastpass. So the service desk had to do it differently than today, because today you authenticate and then give the user a password. With fastpass, you should authenticate the user and then instead of giving them a password, you give them a re-enrollment key so that they can re-enroll in fastpass. And when they've done that, they can themselves click on password reset and do it themselves. In this way, the service desk will never be involved in handling a password over to an end user. And when we talk about compliance, we actually take it a step further and say that giving this re-enrollment key to the user should not be done by the first person in the service desk, but this person should have a strict process of handling this key to a back office, if you're a larger organization, to a back office, which will then make a secondary authentication before delivering the key to the user, so that you will have a very, very secure manual process. But you can afford that because it's only 10% of your total calls now. Then you can afford to make it very secure and compliant to strict demands for security in your password process. And we see, as I said earlier, we see indeed in Europe now that this is in very, very high demand, because organizations need to get this fixed before May 2018.
Oh, from a compliance standpoint.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's gotta reduce the headache of the service desk folks if they can let their own customer internally handle, password resets if it's not done automatically for them. So that's great. Yeah. Let's see. Next question is, so what is your relationship with HPE software?
It's a long relationship we've had with HPE with the service management team in HPE's product division, and now we're taking this step of developing the necessary tools and working together on having this as a very smooth and completely integrated solution. It is not a commercial relationship, so you cannot buy fastpass with HPE. But HPE will tell customers and partners that this is the way to solve password issues, and if you want to do that, go talk to fastpass or fastpass partners around the world for the integration.
Okay, great. I've got a question here. I don't know if I understand it, but you may, Finn. Is it possible to define, for example, 2 questions to reset password for an application A, and 3 questions for application B?
No, actually not. I understand the question. No, we have the same authentication model for all applications, basically. You can have different rules for different user groups. If you, for example, have some user groups with special rights only for special applications, and that would be the way to solve it. Saying, for example, people in the finance department who have access to payments systems, then you can, for example, demand that users from that user group should have 2-factor authentication. They should not be able to authenticate unless they do 2-factor authentication, where users from other groups is okay with a 1-factor authentication because they don't have access to as critical information as the first group. So you will do it for different user groups, but these user groups will then have to do the tough authentication even for lighter applications.
And I think this question kind of goes along with that. And can it be role-based access like you just mentioned? I mean, I'm a standard user on application A and an administrator on application B.
Yeah. Well, I think actually I probably answered this by saying that it is role-based, and for us the role depends, or the processes in fastpass is tied up to AD, to groups in AD, OUs or other groups in AD. You can connect different processes to a user group. And this might be, for example, that, as I said, a user group should have two-factor authentication because they have access to critical information, whereas other groups don't need that. You can have different enrollment processes. The number of processes that you can do different for different groups.
Great. I think you've addressed that question. The user is happy with your answer, so that's good. Finn, I don't have any more questions
Okay.
at this point, so I think we've answered everything there.
And of course, any participant who thinks about this and come up with new questions is always, of course, very welcome to contact me and ask the questions either in mail or conversation.
And again, we'll be sending out this session as a recorded session with answers to the questions, so that for those that were not able to attend today, they can they'll receive the recorded version.
Yeah.
And I've got a few updates from a Vivid perspective. So Finn, thank you. That was a great session today, I think. And I think very helpful for folks that are in that Service Anywhere space or in the service management space looking to reduce their password reset, you know, just the monotony of having to do that all day long. I mean, it's got to just relieve and improve productivity substantially. So that was great. Thank you. So for the rest of you on the call, we're hoping that we'll see you at Discover in London this year. And that's coming up later this month. Make sure you stop by the Vivid booth. And if you haven't registered, we have a link to register and get a discount as Vivid members. So take advantage of that. Also, we have a slide here of top 10 reasons to attend the event, to help sell that to your boss if you need to, sell to your management. I've been going to these events for a long time, and even if I don't attend a session, just the networking alone and talking to peers is worth the trip. So I highly recommend that you take the time, find a way to get to these conferences, both in Europe and EMEA, as well as the ones in the U.S. And just so you know, we are planning, for those that can't make the event, we're working with HPE software to plan a virtual summit to bring the best out of Discover to you in a 3-day summit focusing on ADM and ITOM. So you'll be seeing notices on that as well. And with that, looks like we have a survey that Terry is sending you as we speak. Please fill that in, and that helps provide the feedback we need to continue to make these events very successful for you and worth your time. And just click on the responses, I guess, and we'll go from there. And I think, Terry, I think we're done with that. And Finn, nice talking to you again. And let's see, so are we going to share the survey, or is it just for feedback? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was pushed out, and that will be for feedback for us, Rocky. We're not going to view the
Okay. Great. It looks like it's come up on my screen as well. And I'm just trying to figure out, in case anyone else has this problem, I can't quite click on the yes or no unless I'm supposed to put a number in there. Paul, do we have any Any answers? Let's see. I'm just going to click push.
Rocky, you're a presenter, and that's why you can't select.
Gotcha.
The attendees can select.
You don't want my feedback. I understand. All right. Well, with that, our Vivid webinar for the SIG group is over. We thank you for your time and look forward to hearing from you next time. Thank you, everyone.